So when I speak of the marriage union between a man and a woman, when and something needs to be said about the scriptural mandate, again following God's design, is the man would be the head of the woman, and a woman's desire would be for her husband. This, is a part of not necessarily design, but a result of the fall. But God has instituted, and we can see this clearly spoken about in the New Testament scriptures as well, that a husband and a wife should be yoked together like oxen, you know what I mean? So just like oxen are yoked together, combining the strength of two separate oxen, joining them together as one in a yoke, and using them for a particular purpose, pulling wagons or carts or plowing fields and things of that nature. So when we talk about a husband and wife being yoked together, there's a multiplication of strength. So not only a multiplication of help, the resource of help, but there's also, just as two oxen being yoked together as one, there's a multiplication, there's a force multiplier, effect, where, hypothetically speaking, one ox can carry 5,000 pounds. But when he's combined with another ox together, instead of being only able to carry 10,000 pounds, there's a substantially more greater magnitude of strength. The two of them working together in unison, one leading, one following, but both of them working together creates a strengthening. So the two yoked together are stronger when they work together. When they're yoked, they can pull more than each of them individually, and this oftentimes we see happening when married couples separate. There's when both of them are in the house, everyone is better off, typically. There is, the combining of resources and the sharing of the load. It becomes greater when two are working together as one. And so there's, sometimes in military language, they talk about force multipliers, which multiply your strength in the war. But, keep in mind that men, you're in a spiritual war. Women, you're in a spiritual war. And two is better than one. You have an ally in the fight. And so when we oftentimes, and I want to speak about married couples, oftentimes in married relationships, when there's a spirit of rebellion at work, where God has appointed the man to lead, you know what I mean, and whether he's negligent in his duties to lead his family to God, or he's ignorant, he doesn't know how, for whatever reason, he's failing to fulfill his duties, and a woman as well, that household, that marriage is operating under a spirit of rebellion. Just like one ox doesn't want to follow the lead of the head ox, and they rebel, they pull in a different direction, they break the yoke, and buck against a direction. That animal is not able to be productive because it's bound in the spirit of rebelling against its master's hand. And likewise in marriages, if the wife is not taking upon the duty of obedience under the marriage covenant so a husband, he might fail to lead. He might fail some of his responsibilities. A wife may fail to follow her husband under the spirit of rebellion. And when a spirit of rebellion is active in a relationship, that is like a man saying, to his hand, hey, grab that pencil on the table. And when he tries to grab it, it refuses to obey his command. That hand, that extension of himself, the part of his member that refuses to obey his leadership and his guidance, many of us would call crippled, because of the rebellion and the loss of control of that member to the head of the body. And so likewise, we can see this in many relationships. There are many Christian couples that are married, but wives refuse to submit to the leadership and direction of their husband. And they're bound up in a spirit of rebellion, pushing against, you want us to do this, but I want to do this. I'm going to do this. You do that. That disconnect. There's a loss. There's a disunity. A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. A house, husband and wife, divided against itself will not stand. And a man whose members are not functioning may also have a problem standing. You know what I mean? Because its members are in of his body, his flesh, refuse to submit to his leadership. That person would have the parts of his member not pulling in the same direction. There's a loss of strength amplification. There's a rebellion in the body. And so all these things also need to be considered as well when we're talking about marriage. Is, sometimes there's a spirit of rebellion that your wife is dealing with. How does a man or a woman address these fractures in the foundation of your house without neglecting it until eventually the house collapses and is destroyed? This is where Christian couples also need allies in the fight to help them in the struggles that they're facing in their marriages. So not only do Christian men and women engage in battles in the spiritual realm, Christian men and women are typically isolated and alone. One can be overpowered. This is where the spiritual war takes place for us Christian singles, but also marriages get attacked too. Husbands and wives get wounded in the battle. What mechanism is in place for Christian couples to gain ministry by others, to be built up and to repair some of the damage that's happening, and also teach lessons, on how to be a better husband, how to learn, how to grow, and to stand in the ministry of being a husband or being a wife. So